Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live. There's been a lot of talk about Catholics voting with a well-formed conscience this political season. But where do you go to get clear, concise instruction on the most important matters to consider before casting your vote? The answers may be as close as your iPhone. My next guest is the co-author of Catholicism for Dummies, as well as the longtime co-host of EWTN's Web of Faith. He's also the president of the Confraternity of Catholic Clergy. Here to give us a preview of the Confraternity's new free app is Father John Trigilio.
How you doing,
Welcome
Raymond?
to the
Thank
show.
you.
Delighted to have you here. Now let's talk for a moment. Why do Catholics need a voter's guide? Can't they figure this out on their own?
Well, they could figure it on their own if they got a good formation. Unfortunately, as you and I both well know, a lot of people during the 60s and 70s got butterflies and clouds instead of catechesis. And some of the Catholic colleges they went to were not Catholic. So their formed consciences either were not formed or ill-formed.
Well, but the felt manners looked really nice for so many years, Father. Let's not degrade that. Now, why an app? You all are releasing an app. This is coming out October 9th.
Yes.
Why did you decide to launch it as an app and not as a pamphlet or a hard voter's guide?
Well, because just as a pastor, and most of our members are pastors, priests and deacons in the parish, we know people don't read as much as they used to. Everything is on electronic media, and so everyone has an app or has a device that uses an app, whether it's the iPhone or the smartphone or Android. And we figured, why not use the technology that's there, like Pope Benedict said we should? And so we figured this would be a great avenue to hit, especially that group of Catholics who either are ill-formed or don't realize what they don't know.
Who is designing this app and why?
Well, it was designed by the Confraternity of Catholic Clergy, and I and a couple others of our board worked on it. And basically, we used the bishop's letter on responsible citizenship, as well as Cardinal Ratzinger's 2004 letter on worthy reception of Holy Communion.
Now, tell me, why those two resources? Why did you use those as guideposts?
Well, we used the bishop's letter because primarily it's coming from the American Bishops' Conference, and it spells out key issues that Catholics need to consider when they go into the voting booth. And Cardinal Ratzinger, well, then Cardinal Ratzinger's letter in 2004 made it very explicit about what constitutes formal and material cooperation in evil, particularly as you're voting for candidates who support intrinsic evils like, say, abortion, assisted suicide, and euthanasia.
Now, you highlight here 6 vital issues. Why those 6 issues?
Those 6 issues we think are so pertinent, and they are being impacted so much in this upcoming election, but also in the culture at large. So the first and foremost, the most foundational issue is the right to life, which is obviously being attacked by abortion, euthanasia, assisted suicide, but then religious liberty, particularly because of the HHS mandate, and also all the other restraints of government on church activity, what pastors can say from the pulpit, the sanctity of marriage. We have the right of private property, which a lot of people don't realize that's part of our Christian heritage, that you're allowed to have private property, but then you also have the access to necessary goods, that we must provide things for people to be able to obtain them. And then finally, the issue of war itself and military engagement.
A number of bishops have been trying to distinguish of late between the so-called non-negotiables that Pope Benedict has staked out and prudential judgments. Does this app address that distinction and help people distinguish between the two?
Yes, we do. Without using the terminology of, we certainly refer to things as being non-negotiable, and we use the phrase prudential judgment because we make it very clear that these principles, for instance, the principle of right to life, is absolute. It cannot be watered down or diluted, and that's non-negotiable. But so is the right of religious liberty, so is the right to private property, so is the right to defend one's country or one's people, whether it's an attack by terrorists or a foreign aggressor.
And what do you want people to do with this? Obviously, they download it to their iPad or their iPhone, and then what?
We want them to use that to look at it frequently, particularly on election day. And what's nice about this is because they're general principles, it applies in every election, whether it's presidential, congressional, senatorial, gubernatorial. But also because of this upcoming election, there's so much at stake, not just with who holds the office, but what that person does with the office, because there will be some possible Supreme Court appointments made, and that's going to be affecting some of these issues as well.
Yeah, and the nice thing is these are concise
Very concise.
Entries. This doesn't go on for pages and pages.
No, it's because that's the way the apps work. We want it to be concise. People, we don't want to say they have a short attention span, but that's the nature of how these things operate. And people go from one thing to the other. So we purposely kept it short, but there's the clarity, there's the accuracy, and also the urgency.
Very good. Father John Trigilio, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Raymond.
The Catholic Voting Guide app from the Confraternity of Catholic Clergy will be released October 9th. It is free on iTunes, and you can find more information on it by visiting the Confraternity's website at catholicclergy.net.